thank you that we can be here. Thank you for the invitation, Professor Szilágyi, Professor Nagy. Thank you that I can be here not alone, but with my colleague, Dr. Anna Vartašová, who is specialized in the field of local taxes, local taxation. We are jumping back to the EU. We are jumping back to the taxation topic from state aid topic. We are jumping in the local budgets and the local taxation. So the topic of our presentation is local taxes in Slovakia, an effective source of local government budgets. That's the question. I start with a short introduction to the system of taxes in Slovakia, system of local taxes and local fees. And then my colleague Anna will continue with some numbers, some graphs, and at the end we will try to answer this question, which is not so easy to answer. So the system of local taxes in Slovakia. Actually valid system of local taxes is effective since 2005, so it's 19 years. And the actual system of local taxes in Slovakia consists of the 8 local taxes: real property tax, dog tax, accommodation tax, non-winning gaming machines tax, vending machines tax, tax on use of public areas, tax on entering and stay of motor vehicles in the historical part of towns, and nuclear facilities tax. And 2 local fees, local fee for waste and the local fee for development. This system of local taxes and fees is valid since 2005, but it doesn't mean that before 2005 in Slovakia there were no local taxes, no local fees. So what I have to say in this moment is that before 2005, so I will start at 1990, okay, after the changes in the social, political, and economic conditions in Slovakia, Czechoslovakia, and the other states which are now which are or are not in the member states of the EU. So, for example, the real property tax. Of course, we had the real property tax also before 2005, but it was the state tax. So it was imposed by law, directly by law, and the municipalities had only limited powers to say something to the construction of this tax. So it was the state and directly the law who says who is the taxpayer, who is the tax base, tax rate, and the other things. And the other local taxes, dog tax, accommodation tax, and the other, before 2005, was not the taxes, but the fees. So what is now dog tax? From 1990 to 2004, it was the dog fee. Same way, accommodation tax, accommodation fee. So we had these payments, but not called like the taxes, but the fees. What I can mention here is one thing that is not written in the presentation, which you cannot see. Since 2005 till 2014, we have one more local tax. It was motor vehicle tax. But the situation was very similar. Motor vehicle tax till 2004 was state tax. Since 2005 till 2014, it was the local tax, which was imposed by, not by municipalities, but by higher territorial units. We have 8 higher territorial units in Slovakia, and for 10 years, between 2005 and 2014, these higher territorial units had the power to impose the motor vehicle tax. Since 2015, the motor vehicle tax is again state tax. So this thing changes in the time. So this is actual system of the local taxes and the local fees in Slovakia. Here are the basic characteristics of this local taxes. So what you can see, all local taxes and local fees are at the moment administered by the municipalities. So we had 2 levels of self-government. We have the municipalities and higher territorial units. 8 higher territorial units in Slovakia and about more than 3,000 municipalities. But in the field of the local taxation, only municipalities has the right to impose local taxes and fees. The other question is if they are voluntary or mandatory. As you can see, all local taxes are voluntary. only municipal waste fee is mandatory in Slovakia. If we are talking about tax rates limits, this is very important because the first question, if local taxes are effective source of local budgets. Tax rates limits are, but, for example, real property tax. Yes, partial. What does it mean? For example, land tax, the tax rate is set by law. But law says the tax rate for land is 0.25% from the value, but not market value, it was the question, but the value set by law or by general binding regulation. But the law says that this is the basic rate. So the basic rate is 0.25% land tax, but the municipality can increase or decrease this tax rate. The same situation is, for example, the other part of real property tax, so building tax or tax for apartments and non-residential buildings. The other local taxes, dog tax, accommodation tax, there are no limits. So the law says only that the municipality says which will be the tax rate. So it means that if, for example, city of Košice will adopt the regulation that the tax rate for one dog is 1,000 euro per year, it will be definitely okay because the municipality has the right to impose the tax rate also at the level of 10 euro, 100 euro, and 1,000 euro. Of course, they are not using these very high rates, but they can do it according to law. Only one tax, this nuclear facilities tax. There's only one local tax where the tax rate is set only by law and only directly by the law. So here you can see the basic legislation in the field of local taxation on local taxes and local fees. So two basic law on local taxes and local fee for municipal waste and minor construction waste, and the other on the local fee for development. As I said before, this law only said that here are the 8 local taxes which can be imposed by municipalities. But these local taxes are voluntary, so it means that to adopt the local tax in the concrete municipality must or have to adopt own legislation. In Slovakia, we call it generally binding regulations, adopted by the local parliament, of course, and by these regulations. The municipality can not only impose this local tax or fee, but also set the tax rates, some reliefs and exemptions, reporting duties, and set the payment details. So that's the basic situation in the field of the local taxes and fees in Slovakia. And now we are getting back to the question just said at the beginning. If the local taxes are effective source of local budgets, or if they are effective revenue of the local budget. We should look to the Constitution of Slovak Republic, Article 50, 59 and 65. According to Article 59, taxes and fees are state and local. There is also another sentence which is not written here, that taxes and fees can be imposed by law or on the basis of law. But very important is Article 65. Municipalities finance their needs primarily from their own income. And now we will try to ask if in reality the municipalities in Slovakia respect these rules, or if the legal environment in Slovakia is at the level that it is even possible. So now I will ask my colleague Anna to continue.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present this topic here. So I will continue. As my colleague gave you the overview of the nice theoretical introduction to the system of local taxes applicable, I will follow with the more detailed information and give you the wider overview of where these local taxes actually are in our system. So as you see the list there on the slide, we have quite a variety of other sources which are funding municipalities, as is standard in all the other countries. You see that first in the list is mentioned the revenues from local taxes and fees, which should mean that this should be the primary source of their funding. I will show you later that it is not. Then we have the non-tax revenues, the interest, sanctions, donations, share of state taxes. You see that there is quite a list. I underlined those which are only of some budgetary importance in a broader sense. So you see that it is also the local taxes in the first place, the non-tax revenues, the share of state taxes, which in case of Slovakia means a very limited range because we only share one state tax. It is a personal income tax. It is not quite traditional in other countries, and as I was checking, that they purely base their funding of municipal level by only one state shared tax. Usually, it's a broader mix of some partial revenues from a larger group or variety of state taxes. However, in Slovakia, it's only the personal income tax, which showed to be very problematic in times of COVID, when many people had to interrupt their work because they were forced to stay at home because of the COVID measures. And at that time, it was very critical because the municipalities simply did not get their partial share in course of year from income tax because these people actually were either sick or not working. And many companies bankrupted in that time, or had no profit because they were forced to stop their performance of business activities because of COVID measures. So it is very problematic issue. Then it is the subsidies, which is actually very important source for municipalities. It's either for the transfer of state administration power, which are transferred to municipalities, or for some specific purposes, like support of some investments, grant, sporting activities, educational, cultural, and other special projects. And the last one is the funds from EU, which is rather limited as well, because usually municipalities struggle with this type of funding based on the fact that, as Miroslav was mentioning, we have almost 3,000 municipalities, and like 2/3 of them have below 1,000 of inhabitants. This means that their administrative staff is usually one lady and the mayor. Simply, they cannot afford to do this bureaucratic work to be able to apply for EU grants, neither also for national grants as well. So here is the practical point of view and some numbers and how the situation actually looks like. You see on the chart that only the gray, you see the gray part of column, which stands for local taxes and fees. It is very little. It is actually a minority, and you see that the blue and the tangerine the orange, is the part for all the funds transferred by the state, which is the transfer for the transferred public administration issues, the state issues transferred to municipalities, and special grants for the municipality. So more than 60% of the budget of municipalities are totally state dependent, and only the minority is made by their own local taxes, local income. It is quite important to mention that even in wider or broader terms, I mean the EU Charter of Local Self-Government, which is fully binding for Slovakia since 2007. We more or less apply the principles of funding included in the Article 9 of the Charter. However, not all of them are in practice truly applied, like, for example, sufficient and diversified resources, or resources corresponding to the competencies. These especially are not in balance since, for example, municipalities in Slovakia, as was calculated by the Association of Slovak Municipalities and Towns, have to deal with more than 4,300 individual competencies, which is terribly too much. Also, the consultations. If you have that many municipalities, it is hard to find the way to proper consultation mechanism. Moreover, at least from the last government, which was governing the country for the last 4 years, municipalities were very neglected, and they were treated the way that municipality is the performing institute for the government, which has not right to have their own opinion or say something, and only the competencies were transferred to them without proper funding, without proper prior consultation, and all the due cooperation between the municipal level or the self-governing level at all and the state. So this is one level of the problem. Another level of the problem in Slovakia is the local taxes composition as such. We have 8 local taxes and 2 local fees. But when you look at the chart, how it looks when we take a closer look, you see that large majority, I mean the blue lines, stand for real property tax. This means that among these local taxes and charges source, only real property tax is actually of some really relevant nature from the budgetary point of view. Also quite important in the gray one is the waste management fee, which is very important as well. And the last one, the blue emerging from 2018, is the local development fee, sort of new one, but with quite potential for further development, further raising, and bringing some potential source of often importance for municipalities on general level. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel from the division of local taxes point of view. But what is important to say that even when real property tax is the most important and most significant local tax, with some between 7 and 8% of municipal budget revenues, yet the generally viewed revenue in the terms of share of GDP is very low. It's, I would say, standard CE countries, 0.4, where we are trying to get the OECD average. It's not even being thought about. We are very, very standard in this way. For example, let alone Poland, where it's around 1%, but the rest of the Central and Eastern European countries, it's very similar. So there has been some talks about the reform. It has been for some 20 years, and yet nothing has been done because the situation is quite hard to explain and to perform. We lack data, we lack introductory resources for some bigger reform. We had some other issues, like, for example, administrative problems. We have problems with enforcement, like, for example, Bratislava has the uncollected debt of real property tax in the amount of 6 million euro up to date. So we have very narrow tax base. For example, we only tax buildings that have roof or ceiling, which means all the utility lines, all the extraordinary structures like industrial structures totally skip taxation. So we have many problems to deal with before starting global or more general reform, which would consume money, and yet in the end you would come to the point where the voters would simply say no, because we have seen situations like that in the beginning or in history and in the development in our countries. So it's a really big question mark on how the potential reform will look like in course of time. And also some third level of problem that needs to be mentioned is the total or general lack of money for investment activities. As you see on the last part of chart, where you see the revenues from financial operations, meaning that whenever municipality wants to do something to invest in the infrastructure or so, they simply have to take loans. So have to finish the idea of the presentation and respond to the original question, naming our presentation. Yes, it is a source of revenues. Yes, it has some budgetary relevance, but yet it is not a crucial source of revenues, and still our municipalities are totally dependent on state funds, which is quite sad. But ending the presentation in more jolly way, it's still good, unless we are better than our big brother Czech Republic, because they are even worse at the situation of this. So I suppose that we can conclude in a positive manner. Thank you very much.
It's maybe it's more political than the legal question, because law on local taxes gives these powers to municipalities. But they are not using these powers. They don't want to use these powers. Why? Because each 4 years there is elections of the mayor, of the members of the local parliament, and they have responsibility to adopt the decisions about the tax rate on the dog tax, tax on the land tax of apartments, and so on. So it's a political question, and the discussions at the municipalities is very hard and very, very strong. Sometimes we are just waiting when they start to fight, major and some parties in the local parliament. But I want to say just some numbers. We live in Košice. Košice, for those of you who don't know, are the second largest city in Slovakia. 250,000 people living in Košice, industrial center, many companies, many universities, many employers, and so on. And I checked actual tax rates for the real property tax, and you can compare it with your city, because here are people from many countries in the Central Eastern Europe, and you can compare and say just for yourself if it's okay or not. For example, apartments because the city of Košice is divided into 3 parts: city center, wider center, and villages close to Košice. First, second, third. First category, city center. Tax for apartments. €1.27 per square meter. So it means if you are owner of the flat or apartment with 100 square meter, the value is about €500,000, maybe plus minus. So it means that you pay €127 per year, like owner of the tax of this. This apartment. For example, dog tax. There are no limits. Till last year, dog tax in Košice, in our city, was €10. €10 per year if you live in a house, not in an apartment, but in the house where your dog has a garden. For example, I live in a house and I have a dog which was abandoned dog, which we took from the shelter. And in this situation, the tax rate is reduced to the half, 50%. So till last year, I paid €5 per year dog tax. What does it mean, €5? It means that the people and the tax administrator must create a decision, deliver this decision to me. I have to pay this €5. So I think that the cost for the work of this employee, the cost of delivery, and maybe of enforcement, if I'm not paying this tax is much higher than the €5 revenue from this dog tax. And from this year, good news, dog tax increased from 10 to €20 per year. So this is just some numbers, and you can compare it to your cities or your municipalities. Thank you once again for your attention.